Respawns. Let's talk respawns. Most racing games have ways to recover players that have fallen off the course, but still punishing enough as the respawn process takes a while before you're back on your feet, the tires. Mario Kart Wii is no exception to this, having a Lakitu fish you out of deep grass, water, or even lava, giving rise to one of the most infamous respawn glitches in today's online play. More on that later. One of the few mechanics that has been removed in newer installments of the game is the recovery boost. Luckily, Mario Kart Wii still has it. After you fall off the track and Lakitu is about to drop you back on, there's a small timing window which, if you press the accelerator, you'll get a small boost. Now normally for things like this, I would give you a list of frame data points for you to muse over, but depending on the respawn point, the timing actually changes by quite a bit. For example, if you fall off on Sherbet Land, you have about an 8-ish frame window to input a respawn boost. But if you and your tier 1 buddy both decide to go for the DKS double and fail, the player on the outside relative to the curve will get far less time to react, often throwing both the timing and the race. Now that you know what to do after Funky has made peace with his acrophobia, it's time to learn when to jump into the lava. A respawn takes approximately 5-ish seconds, with the bad ones taking up to about 8 seconds. Yikes. As you play the game, you'll learn about these bad respawns on your own, but just as a heads up, I would like to point out 2 of the really bad ones, and what makes them so evil. First up, the latter part of the mushrooms inside the cave on Mushroom Gorge. The obvious is, well, obvious. If you fall off at certain points, you'll get respawned way farther back than you should, and the real kick in the rear is you are spawned right in front of the last item set. Not to mention mushroom physics on occasion mess up even the best of players, and if you're talking item strategy, this strip of fungi roadkill is the prime candidate for a target shock, as the players in the back tend to chain shocks around the time the top players are taking gap jump, which ruins everyone. The second bad respawn is just as harsh, but in its own way. I'm talking of course about Rainbow Road's first downhill. Instead of getting TS'd or whacked by mushroom physics, this downhill slope is scary for one reason and one reason alone. Online lag gives a huge disadvantage to anyone starting in first or even third, as the prospect of getting a worse startup boost than the guy behind you, and lag bumping means that you'll be falling for a very long time. Combined with Rainbow Road being a running track at the mid to highest level of play, good players that experience this unfortunate start tend to consider the race a lost cause. Now let's change directions. There are respawns that are actually worth going for. I haven't labbed every single possibility when it comes to good respawns, but 2 come to mind. First is the DKS double. This is a much faster respawn point compared to the norm, not to mention, if you don't fail it and actually do the double, well, congrats, you just cut off some free time. Now this respawn is still slower than just driving around doing the single, but with the right strategy, knowing this respawn can be advantageous. Now finally, the respawn that I'm sure most everyone knows about. The Grumble Volcano respawn is the only respawn that I'm aware to which it's faster to fall off than drive around normally. The catch is you need a mushroom. With bikes on 150cc, the simplest way to do it is mushroom and wheelie off the highest point. And if you're in a kart, drift, mushroom, and once you're about to go off at the highest point, jump the opposite direction. Now on 100cc, I have no clue how to do it with karts. If there is a way, someone send me a video clip because I'd like to see it. With bikes, it's done the exact same way, you wheelie off the highest point. The only difference is the angle will be a little bit more precise. So that's it for the video. Hopefully you learned a little bit about respawns, try not to get target shocked, and happy racing.